Hello, and welcome to another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road. The Midwest Rail Rangers, our 501c3 nonprofit organization, presents onboard educational programs across the Midwest. You may have caught us on the South Shoreline between Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, aboard the Sky Parlor car at the Wisconsin Great Northern, on an Amtrak charter organized by the 20th Century Railroad Club of Chicago, on private rail excursions featuring heritage equipment, and at various outreach events such as Trainfest and Mad City Rail. In March of 2020, the coronavirus sidelined most of our programs. After taking a few months off, we returned with virtual programs, taking you to exciting rail destinations across Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, and Wisconsin. With 2021 now here, we hope to begin the transition back to doing in-person programs. During the months ahead, though, we will continue to bring you new virtual programs as well. So sit back and relax and enjoy another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to our second part of our three-part look at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay. It is Sunday night, February 21st, 2021. As we mentioned, for the past almost year now, we haven't been doing many of our normal programs on the South Shore and Wisconsin Great Northern. Hope to return in the spring. So we've been doing these series of virtual programs since last June. Appreciate all the positive comments and wonderful feedback that we've gotten from you guys. So let's kick it off. This is a very special edition. We're going to go ahead and meet the education director here at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay. He's standing by with Candace inside, and we're going to go ahead and get an inside look at the archives and some of the behind-the-scenes activities that go on here at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay. Something you won't be able to see until normally. So let's send it in. I think Candace is all set with our special guest.
National Railroad Museum began in 1956, and a lot of folks ask us, well, why here and how did you get your start? The 1950s, of course, railroads are transitioning from steam to diesel, and like in a lot of towns, a group of businessmen here in Green Bay, train enthusiasts, thought it would be great to have one locomotive and put it in the city park. And I mean, you look across Wisconsin, we've got half dozen at least of those still exist today. So that was the mission here in Green Bay. Find a locomotive, put it in the park. City of Green Bay said that you could use this land. The land that the museum is on is a Green Bay City Park. The first locomotive we acquired was Milwaukee Road number 261.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. and you guys being familiar with the railroad biz will know the story of 261. That was our first piece here at the museum. Now, how we got to the national part becomes a little interesting. At the time, the head of the military rail service was a gentleman named Carl Gray Jr. And if you look back in history, the Gray family is actually associated with the Union Pacific.
Okay.
Gray came up with the idea that we should have a National Railroad Museum from the military standpoint, since the military has played such a significant role in railroading and vice versa. At the time, the committee here in Green Bay that was trying to acquire the locomotive was talking with the Wisconsin State Historical Society, guidance, recommendations, so on and so forth. Gray also knew the folks in Madison at the State Historical Society, and through what I guess you could call kind of an elaborate game of telephone, the idea got passed from out east through Madison up here to Green Bay, and our guys said, well, let's be the National Railroad Museum. Congressman Byrne, who represented the area at the time, was approached with the idea, and he thought this is worthwhile, so he shepherded a resolution through Congress naming us as the National Railroad Museum. However, the last line of that resolution says that no tax dollars will be expended on a regular basis to further the institution. So, hey, guess what, guys? You got the name, you are the National Railroad Museum, have fun, go out on your own, we're not helping you.
Yeah.
So, that is how we became the National Railroad Museum. The other kind of big question is when the three of us, we're interested in trains. And it's a profession in varying forms for us. But when you look at it from the standpoint of most people in the country today, why railroads? Why should we care about railroads anymore? And most folks don't realize, okay, still about 40% of freight in this country moves by rail. But when you look at it historically, you can pick out legitimately any subject, and the railroads have influenced it or have been related to it or have had some impact on it throughout history. The other thing is when you look at railroads, it can be argued, and quite successfully, that the coming of the railroads in our country, and let's peg it the late 1820s, was as significant as what the internet is for us today. And you think about it, to go from New York to San Francisco in, say, 1820, it still took about 6 months. Okay? We get to 1869, and we complete the Transcontinental Railroad, and the distance across the country is cut from 6 months down to about 6 to 10 days. Now, think about the smartphone that you're using to record this.
Yeah.
Even go back 20 years, 30 years, that didn't exist. You couldn't do what you're doing right now. Or even if you put it in a more simplistic way, go back to, well, say when I was in college in the 1980s, think about what it took to order a pizza. Find a phone book, find the vendor, find the menu for the vendor, call, place your order, wait for the delivery, pay for the delivery, and then actually eat. Okay? Today, right here, right now, from your phone, we can find the vendor, we can order the pizza, we can pay for the pizza, we can even track its production depending upon which vendor we choose, so that when the guy rolls up, all we gotta do is sit down and eat. The railroads did that same thing for our country. So the idea of railroad, hugely significant, which gives the emphasis or the impetus to why do we do everything we do. So that brings us to when you come in as a museum patron and you see something, well, where does all this come from? Where do the stories come from? You look at this and you go, wow, cool dishes, all right? And the story, though, that they tell is what is so fascinating. I can tell you that this is the Membrino China pattern from the Santa Fe Railway. It was developed for use on the Super Chief, and the patterns and imagery that you see are from the Membrino Indians, and it was designed to go with the larger motif of the Super Chief, based on Indians from the southwestern U.S. where the train traveled through. Okay, so I can tell you all that. The bigger question is now, first off, where do the objects come from? And then where do I get this knowledge so that I can interpret these pieces for you? We're going to go behind the scenes and figure that out. So first thing, let's head up to the attic, all right?
Okay.
All right, so welcome to the attic.
This is pretty cool.
This is the attic.
This is awesome.
All right, now, every museum has an attic. Smithsonian tells you they don't have an attic. Don't let them fool you. Okay, they got an attic. The difference is that you might hear names like the small object storage facility.
Ah.
Okay? Big fancy things. It's an attic, all right? You guys up there get a museum going, you're going to have an attic, all right?
Yeah.
First off, technical side of the attic here. It is where we store basically the smaller objects. Now, when you come to a museum like ours, let's face it, the stars of the show are the 65 pieces of rolling stock. Okay? People want to see the big boy, they want to see the Eisenhower train, they want to see the GG1, so on and so forth. But all the things here are the things that help tell the story, or they complete the story. Okay? In our attic, and when this building was built back in 1988-89, there really wasn't consideration that there would be a small object collection, all right? The museum, remember, started with gathering big pieces of rolling stock, all right? So there really wasn't the thought of having an attic. Well, guess what? Things started coming in and we developed the collection. So the space here is not technically ideal for this use. Okay, first off, you notice the environment up here, we're not air conditioned, it's a little stuffy, the humidity goes up and down with the weather, so not ideal. Electrical, not the neatest in the world, it's all up to code, but it could be a heck of a lot better. There is one other huge concern with this space and using it for an archive or a storage space. What do you think?
Water.
We've got sprinkler system in here.
Oh no.
When we built our Lundfesti Center, our big exhibit hall, back in 2000, the building code had changed that basically said if you are going to remodel any portion, you have to bring everything up to current code. So that meant we had to add the sprinkler system. Now we've kind of got a double whammy here. We've got the system you see here, but then above this in the roof trusses, the uninsulated part, there is a second sprinkler system. This one is pressurized, has water. The other one is compressed air in it, which will then lead to water if one of the heads actually goes to discharge. So not the ideal situation for this kind of a storage facility. The other thing I want to talk about real quickly is how do things get into and out of the collection, okay? The National Railroad Museum's collection is held in what is called the public trust, meaning that our board of directors, through the museum staff, has pledged that if we take an object in, we will use it for educational purposes. We will use it in a conservative manner. It will not be consumed if it is actually in the collection.
So also, no eBay.
No, not so much no eBay. Oh. Well, no eBay. That's part of it. I'll get to that in a minute. But example here. If this hard hat is in the collection,
oh nice, Northwestern.
Okay, what it means is that if somebody needs a hard hat to go work in our shop, you can't run up here and take this one. All right. That means that's being used in a consumptive manner.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the collection also being held in that public trust means that we will also do our best efforts through accepted museum practices to hold and maintain and preserve the objects. Now, when something walks in the front door, we don't just right away say, oh, sure, we'll take it. What happens is that our curator would meet with the potential donor. We would evaluate the object. If somebody comes in with a set of gauges off of a 747, we're going to say, you know what, EAA down the road, probably a little more germane to this. But if somebody comes in with a set of gauges off of a Baldwin steam locomotive, we'd really like to talk with you. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is, does the piece fit into the collection as far as number wise? All right. If you come in with a railroad lantern, it had better be a rare, Very special one, because around the corner and over here, we probably got about 150 some
Really?
railroad lanterns
Wow.
already. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What will happen is that we will give the potential donor what is called a temporary custody agreement, saying that we will take the object, we'll evaluate it, we'll see if it fits, we'll look at all the criteria. We also need to check its provenance. We need to make sure that it has a clean title. Then what happens if we decide that we will accept an item? It goes to our collections committee that says thumbs up or thumbs down. That recommendation goes to our board of directors, who usually follows the recommendation. If they say yes, then the item is put into the collection, and a deed of gift is given to the donor. That deed of gift basically says that they are giving the item to the museum, no strings attached. They own it, and they have the ability to give it to the museum, and it is free and clear and ours. The agreement also stipulates that an object may be exhibited, it may be held just for research. There is a chance that it may never be put on exhibit, and at our discretion, we can dispose of it as we see fit.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right.
Now, the disposal part, there is an equal process as to what I just described for something to come out. All right? And it's basically just the reverse of coming in. The curator makes a recommendation, the committee agrees, the board agrees, and then once we've said something comes out, there is actually a set of processes by which an item is disposed of. Trade with another museum, sale to another museum, sale to another institution that is another railroad organization. Okay. The last thing on that list is witness destruction. We try to avoid that at all costs. The one thing that will not happen is there will not be an eBay sale, or there will not be the Great National Railroad Museum rummage sale in the parking lot. Those things just cannot and do not happen. So, all right. So that's into and out of the collection. Tell you what, let's do this. Take a couple moments, look around, see what wild things you can find, okay?
Well, I saw you had the Silver Streak Zephyr, and I always love the Zephyr. So, what Zephyr stuff do you have?
Well, tell you what. Look around first, because that's part of my shtick when we get back together, okay?
Okay. All right. What do you see?
I see some dishes over here. I believe you have some of this at home. Those dishes. This design.
I think that's. Oh boy. I think that's CB&Q.
What's that?
That's CB&Q.
No, it's the Milwaukee Road.
Oh, Milwaukee
Peacock
Road.
pattern.
The peak.
Milwaukee
Yeah.
Peacock pattern. Yes. Yes.
All right. I think I have some of that. There's some Northwestern. I think I have some of those cups. One of those cups.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Some playing cards over here.
Oh, let's see. What railroads?
Northern Pacific, Northwestern. Some other ones back in
Notice
there.
how he's keeping an eye on us. There will be pocket checks at the end of this.
I'm actually looking for
Oh, look at that. A Milwaukee Road. Hard hat.
Do those say Pullman on them?
Pullman, they do.
That's cool.
I believe my milk jugs, maybe?
Maybe, or water.
What do you think?
Could be milk or water. Some
Milk or
type of
water from
beverage.
Pullman, yeah. Oh, I could spend all day here.
All the lanterns he was
Oh,
talking
the
about.
lantern collection. Look at that.
That is cool. I saw something cool over there.
Well, we'll take our time. Santa Fe glasses from apparently 1959. Those might have been on the Pacific part of the Sky Parlor car. There's some Amtrak. There's some timetables from the 70s. Oh, look, plenty more space to expand. Look at all the lanterns. Wow. There's some seats.
Yeah.
Those almost look like Santa Fe, but I don't know. Model trains.
There you go. Got some
Anything we need?
H2O.
some HO. There's it's like the Southern Pacific and crossings. Some caps there.
Some old luggage.
Old luggage. There's a. Is that a high level? Oh, it's an Amtrak Superliner car.
The bus. The
Crutches somehow.
Yeah,
I'm not
crutches.
sure. Those are railroad crutches. Maybe it must be. There's a bus to Eisenhower. Of course, they have the Eisenhower train, which we'll get to see a little bit later.
Old
Some
calendar artwork.
Calendars. There's a little more lanterns.
Need anything for your model railroad? Just kidding.
A lot of model railroad. Non-circulating materials. Keep them in the boxes here. What did you see over here?
I saw over here.
Oh, there's even more back here. Look at that.
Doors.
Ah!
A toilet seat.
Oh. No, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Oh, look at that. Oh. It's from the Union Pacific, the 4017. So we have some builder plates.
Lots of old luggage. This is what I found I thought was really cool.
The luggage?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then some old pictures you can kind of see. Some old ads from the Northwestern.
Wow.
That was here.
Yeah. There's maybe a depot clock.
Yeah.
I see a Burlington, maybe off the Zephyr. Or I see a B of the Burlington peeking out.
There you go.
And a big Northwestern logo back here. Wow. There's a locomotive. Not sure which one. 41.
There's a plate over here from Brooks Locomotive Works. You can get in there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, people want to see that. Yep. Dunkirk, New York. 2475. It looks like there's a piece of luggage and it's got Pennsylvania Railroad on it. We're spent all day up here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come see you at 5 o'clock tonight.
As long as you're right here, let's continue our discussion here.
All right.
All right.
Most of the interesting things that you have found, you probably notice, unless you see it, there's a toilet seat,
Yes.
a table, a bunch of doors here. You notice these are all tagged.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that accession process, whenever we take something in, it's not just part of the object, it's the whole object that we need to care for. So in this case, when we have done restorations on rolling stock and put them up for exhibit, sometimes, depending on how we're interpreting the piece, there are parts that need to come off, or there are parts that are on that we're going to create reproductions for and take the originals off and hold them, okay? What you're looking at here is a number of interior doors from Eisenhower's World War II command coaches. In 2012 and 2014, as we were rebuilding that exhibit, we found that there was a number of places that we wanted the public to see, but to have the doors there either created a safety hazard in them being opened into an aisle, or it created a potential hazard that somebody could get locked inside a room or whatever. So when the parts came off, they get tagged, they come up here. Bob, you had asked about Burlington Zephyr things.
Yeah. I didn't realize you had the Silver Streak here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the car, the car is the Silver Spirit. It was
Yeah.
the train, the Silver Streak. And when we restored that to operation, in the lounge area, the Venetian blinds were pretty much shot, dry rotted from over the years. And they were just hanging there. But we needed to remove them and hang on to them so that in the future, if we do want to have replicas made, we have models, or if anybody ever wants to research. And so here you see part of those that came off, and they will be saved here in the archive and preserved literally forever as labeled as part of that car. Okay.
Yeah, Silver Spirit.
Yep. So that's one of the things you're going to find up here. The other thing is you look at some objects and you go, okay, what is it? What's this curiosity in the attic? Okay?
Yeah.
And I want to share one of those with you. We have a box marked fish.
Okay.
Okay. And you look at it and it's a crate. And for a number of years, as we as staff looked at it, it was like, okay, it's a crate that's got fish stems. I mean, what the heck is this thing?
Is it even railroad related?
Well, yes, it is.
Okay.
So further research helped us develop the story of the fish box. Okay. Now think about this. Today, at least here in northeast Wisconsin and over further parts of Wisconsin, you'll see ads for Festival Foods, and their fish flown in fresh daily. Okay, so if you look in their deli case today, they're advertising that a lot of their fish, their fresh stuff, is flown in specifically for them on a daily basis. Hey, great, we got airplanes today, okay?
Yeah.
How about the 1920s? How did we get Gulf shrimp from Louisiana to Wisconsin in the 1920s?
It would have to be overnight on like Panama Limited or something or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the baggage cars on the top trains like the Panama Limited or even later on City New Orleans, something like that. Think about Chesapeake Bay crab coming into Chicago, B&O's Capital Limited, something like that. Okay. In the baggage cars or the REA Express cars, you would find basically a curb in the floor that led to a drain, and stacked in that area would be fish boxes. Sealed up, fish inside, packed with ice, going to inland destinations. So you look at it at first and it's like, okay, it's a box that's got fish on it. But now that you hear the story behind it, it's like, oh, wow, it's been put in context for you, all right? And so what you have seen thus far is, okay, here's objects that are on exhibit, and we know the stories and we've interpreted them, and then now here is the place that those objects come from. Okay, so next stop, we're going to get downstairs to the archives, which is where the stories actually come from. Okay, so
all right.
Come on along. Part of the exhibit today.
Oh, okay.
To see the curator.
Oh, all right. Hi, curator. Hi.
Paul Nelson, curator and operations manager. So half of Paul's job is basically the operation of the museum. The light's on, the heat's working, the toilet's flushing, that whole bit. The other part is curating the collection.
Wow. Okay,
so the process I had described as far as accession and deaccession starts with Paul. All right. The exhibit design, what objects are used for it, so on and so forth. Paul drives that, works a lot with education on it as well. The other big thing that Paul has is the maintainer of everything that you see, and we're working on a lot of this, is still a catalog of what we have. Now, we use a software called Past Perfect, which is pretty much the museum gold standard as far as cataloging software. And with that, we can come in and say, Paul, what do we have for railroad lanterns? And he can call up and say, here's the inventory. That software also will allow us to produce notes for exhibits and just a wealth of other data. So that is curator's job.
Okay.
Right? Besides also, helping with interpret and explain the collection. My department and Paul's, we work quite a bit as far as, okay, here's an object and here's an exhibit, and we've got the interpretive part and the exhibit, and now what else are we going to do with it to help people enjoy and learn from this? All right. Did I explain the job adequately?
Yep.
Just notice basically the environment.
Okay.
And then make sure the door shuts
Okay.
behind you. Welcome to the archives.
Wow.
So, differences.
Temperature controlled.
Yeah. Temperature and humidity controlled.
Okay.
Usually very cool. Usually low humidity, monitored constantly. You'll notice the facility itself is a lot neater and cleaner. It was specifically designed for archives. No windows, so we have no ultraviolet light concerns, also for security. Notice the lights in the room. A lot of folks will look at this and go, oh wow, they put designer lights going at a diagonal in here. No. There's a specific purpose for this. When you get into an archive facility or a library and you have these taller shelves, and think about the grocery stores, invariably, there is a light that runs right down a shelf. Mm-hmm. And you get a very nasty shadow on either side. By putting the lights at a 45-degree angle across the room, the shadows are mitigated within the aisles. So you get much better visibility when you are in here. Okay. The other thing, you noticed upstairs we had a sprinkler system. In here there is a fire suppression system, but it is a chemical system. Okay, so it is not one of the old oxygen deprivation systems. Those are illegal. This is a chemical that if it is discharged, it will suppress the fire, but it will not harm anybody that's in the room. If you're in here and it discharges, you'll get out. You're going to be coughing and gagging once you get out the fresh air, but you will survive, and the fire will be suppressed, and the damage to the objects in the room will be minimal compared to with a water system. Okay, probably one of the biggest things that if we had a do-over for this facility, our climate control is actually in the room here. And we would have rather had that outside of the room as opposed to right in the room here. So, okay, but still a very, very useful facility for us. Now, what do we have? Oh, there is all kinds of goodies in the room.
I like goodies.
The aisle that you just came through, this is things that are coming into the collection or are in the process of immediate cataloging or sorting before they are dispatched to other parts of the room. The first section here, the paper boxes are all ephemera. Schedules, documentation, correspondence, promotional items. That is the first couple aisles. Down toward the far end, the first thing we're going to encounter is videos. Yeah, there's VHS, and there is actually beta tapes over there. On the other side of that, and you'll get to see this in a moment, there is actually motion picture film. There is 16 millimeter. There's actually some Super 8 over there as well. So.
Nice.
The aisle right here, this is all periodicals. And there's a number of different periodicals, railroad related, that we hold. This again is one of those ideas where if somebody walks in and says, hey, I've got 10 years worth of Trains magazines, thanks but no thanks, because like Trains, Model Railroader, a few of those, we have 2 issues of every issue that's been published.
Yeah, you don't need 100 of them.
Yeah, but so they're and again, this is kind of the respect of the historical object. You know, you're right. We don't need 100 of them, but there may be other places that can benefit more from them. So, the middle section here is mostly primary source material. Primary source being something that was created at the time that an event was happening, or that was created around a certain object. Example, and you'll understand this if you've got an SD40-2 and you need to do an oil change. Okay, well, we can loan you the manual and you can see how to do it. We're not going to give you the 150 gallons of oil to go with it, but you know, there's the manual. Okay, we have moved.
That's pretty cool.
The majority of our textiles down here, a little better climate control than upstairs.
A lot of old uniforms
Yes,
here.
yep,
Then
lots of old uniforms. The section over here, between the table here and storage back here,
wow.
is photo images, and we're talking everything from negatives to prints to 35 millimeter slides. If you are an intern in the curatorial department, you are probably getting stuck with a box and a scanner and a computer and go for the cataloging. All right.
All right.
The section right here, there is some primary source book material, but there is a lot of secondary source, or basically library books, or, since you're on the inside today, what we call our fluff and stuff books. Okay, which, you know, for a lot of things, the secondary source books are a great place to start generating ideas. Depending on the program or exhibit, you know, the material that you find in a secondary source, depending upon how it is presented and how it is substantiated, might be all that you need. Okay?
Yeah.
So, for example, see if I can deftly lay my hands on it. We had looked at the Mimbres China pattern. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
We might come in here and look in our collectibles section, and, you know, take a book, say on Railroadania, you know, or other collectibles, and find the description for that, all right, which then would potentially lead us to, okay, it was a Pullman train, or it was a Santa Fe train, it was all Pullman. So, you know, now we might want to look at things like, you know, the Chiefs. We might want to look at, you know, Pullman car diagrams, you know, so on and so forth. And so now we've gone from, there's the object out there, to where we store it, to how we fill in the story about it. And a lot of times, from a book like this, we will springboard into other sources that are probably more primary in nature, or may lead us to other magazines or historical societies, or give us leads for photographs that we may want to attain. So, yeah, primary source, we want to get as close to the information as we can, but, you know, this is a great starting point. Maps.
Wow.
And other objects. And again, you know, you walk through here, and, you know, some of the things that you find.
Wow.
Yeah, the sign off of.
Where did that? You know.
It's off of, I believe it was off of the headquarters building.
Wow.
Yeah, you know. So.
That's kind of big.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
Maps. In the between 1900 and 1925, the railroads in this country had to file with the Interstate Commerce Commission a valuation map showing all of their holdings. And we have these are the come on here.
Oh, wow.
These are the originals of the maps. So here we're looking at, let's see if we can identify the signatures. Okay, this is Brookfield.
Wisconsin?
Yeah, this is Brookfield. Yeah, this is all Wisconsin. So here's Brookfield Township. So this does it have it labeled? This is probably the Milwaukee Roads line, which today would be the Canadian Pacific.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any landmarks that look.
Yeah. Okay.
No, just the little side ones are.
Well, it says Sioux Line
so
Crossing
that's
at
the
Prairie du
crossing.
Chien.
Yeah.
Prairie du Chien Crossing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's one of these neat things about technology. Obviously, we want to preserve the maps.
So is that Duplainville, do you think?
Probably.
What is
Yeah.
Duplainville now?
Yeah.
Okay.
we want to preserve the maps, and you notice that, I mean, 1920s there, they're in fragile condition. So these very rarely come out of here. But
Yeah. Wow.
the Wisconsin Society of Land Surveyors, before these maps came to us, scanned and digitized all of them. So
Okay.
we have them in a digital form as well. So when somebody comes up and says, yeah, hey, was that De Plainville from the 1920s? What does it look like? We can actually call up the image digitally and say, yeah, here's what the track configuration looked like. Okay?
So where did you get these from again?
They came to us from, well, the State Railroad Commissioner would have had them, would have held
Okay.
them. And then
I guess at some point it's like, why do we need these 100-year-old diagrams?
And so they would have come to us through the Wisconsin Society of Land Surveyors.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
That is
Tell
very
you
cool.
what, take a few moments again, just get upstairs, look around, and then we'll get back together and we'll show you a couple things.
Okay.
And then we'll take a quick run out to the shop to wrap things up.
All right. Well, what do you see?
Very cool.
Wisconsin statutes from 1930s, even 1919, and what is this?
1855.
Where's 1855?
This one.
Oh, wow. That was when Wisconsin was just 7 years old. Old magazines.
Old books, official guides.
60s here.
Here's the
So-
1800s up here, the top shelf.
May of 1881. 1891.
1890.
1891. There's a lot of people collect these. Railroad guides. Pretty common. Even published them in the Amtrak era. There's some 1980s. Circus train. What is this? Oh, wow.
Pretty old.
Yeah, Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railway. Through the
The
Bitterroot
Rocky
and the
Cascade Mountains.
You want to touch that? Need some white gloves. Yeah. That is pretty cool. Oh, he does have the white gloves.
Yes. Yes.
He was social distancing before social distancing was cool.
Exactly.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Step on over this.
Oh, there's a nice Metro bag. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right, here we go.
This way.
Okay, I'm coming.
We talked about the China pattern out there, the Membrino pattern, and it leads us to the Santa Fe Super Chief.
Ah.
And one of the questions that we will get a lot of times here at the museum, we'll have an author email us or call us and say, okay, I'm writing a historical fiction book, or I'm actually writing a nonfiction book, and I have a character that needs to go from New York City to St. Louis, and it is 1902.
Okay.
Okay, how do they get there? Well, obviously it's going to be on the train, most likely. And today, when you want to travel on Amtrak, or I think Greg even has a computerized reservation system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We go online and we find it all out there. So, pre-Amtrak, pre-computers, all of that registration or booking of your passenger train and your tickets was actually done manually. And you went to the station agent or a ticket agent or to your travel agent and you said, okay, I want to get from New York to St. Louis, and here's when I want to travel, and here's kind of the accommodations I'm looking for. They pulled out a book called The Official Guide. Okay?
Yeah.
And this book, which was published 3-4 times a year, contains, for its period, every train trip or every passenger train in the country, steamship connections, and eventually some early airline connections. And the ticket agent would sit down with you and say, okay, let's see how we can get this worked out. So say, let's say our trip is, say, Chicago out to Seattle. Well, one of the things they might look at is putting you on the Great Northern Railway. So they would look in the book, come to the Great Northern pages, and identify a train that you would want to go on. If you say, okay, I'm going to need first class accommodations, they're going to look in the book and see which ones have sleeping car accommodations. They'll then go into the detailed timetables and see which one's going to meet your schedule.
Okay.
And then from here, they're going to draw up your ticket. Now, this is part of your ticket. This gets you on the train. The other part of the ticket is if you have Pullman accommodations, they now need to call Pullman's reservation center, where manually Pullman will assign you to a specific accommodation on the train.
Wow.
So your ticket, depending on how you're going and where you're going, how long you're traveling, and what your accommodations are, some of those tickets could end up being 3-4 feet long.
Wow.
But,
it's like a receipt at CVS Pharmacy.
Yes, exactly. But here's the thing. Even in the 1920s, 1930s, if you were traveling on a passenger train and you had a Pullman accommodation, and with all of that being done manually, when you got to the train, that Pullman porter still knew who you were and already knew what accommodation you were going to be in.
Do they memorize them?
Some cases they memorized them. Most of the time they would have a little sheet with them.
Okay.
Now, knowing Pullman, they would rather have you check the sheet, okay? But when you come up and introduce yourself and present your ticket, they're right away going to look and go, yep, you're in lower 9, or you're traveling as a couple, you have lower and upper 9, or you're in bedroom 1, and they can actually direct you to the car, take your luggage to the compartment.
Wow.
All right, and think about this. Using a book like this, that's how it all happened. All right? The other thing I'm going to show you is this. You know, today, when we travel, where are we going? What does it look like? What are we going to see?
Yeah.
Okay, all online. Okay.
Yeah,
well, if you go back to the 1920s, travel literature like that was all printed in a book.
That's what we saw. Yeah, we were wondering what that was. We just saw that.
Copy of that. So,
okay.
For all of, I believe it was,
Michigan.
$1.25.
Oh, people would buy these.
Yes, these were not provided free. So you would buy this.
It'll probably be about $20 today, I'd imagine.
Okay.
So yeah, a little.
So, traveling on the Milwaukee Road from Lake Michigan out to Puget Sound.
Okay.
And here are some of the things that you're going to see along the way. There's the Wisconsin Dells.
That looks familiar. You see that from the Empire Builder today.
Yep. Here's along
Lake Pepin.
Lake Pepin.
Near Winona and Red Wing.
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay. And on and on.
Oh, what's that? Olympian Shortline Bridge.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And Minnehaha Falls.
Oh.
But the other thing I want to point out is sometimes you'll get clues in reverse when looking at these books. Here, that's an electric locomotive going through the west. The Milwaukee Road must have been electrified. Well, yeah, we know it was. Well, here's one of those things where sometimes we find clues in reverse that add to the story.
Okay.
Right? Now, here's the amazing thing about this book. In the early 1900s, color printing did not exist the way it does today. All right? All the pages that you're looking at here, you'll notice it's a heavier paper here, and then the image. That image was actually first printed in black and white, and then an artist hand-colored them, and then they were glued or tipped into the book. So, as much as there would have been consistency, each one would have had slight little variations along the way. So, yeah, not only is it a neat thing to look at, but it is actually a work of art.
Wow.
So
very cool.
And I noticed a sign here real quick. I had to go. Being a Milwaukee Road fan, I had to.
Oh, sure.
I was eyeing this. map there of Wisconsin. Wow. A lot of goodies. Okay.
So far,
I know we have to keep moving on, but boy, I could spend all day here. Do you have the all-day pass option?
And here, something that is available to you, all right? If you are a researcher, you can contact Paul and say, I need to research question XYZ, and I'd like to come in and do that. Okay. And if you have, if you can identify certain source material, or have at least an idea of where some of these things might be, or what kind of resources you want to look at, we'll pull those for you.
Okay.
Take you into the reading room, and you can go through the source material and conduct your research. So yeah, you could get stuck here all day if you really wanted. Right? So far, we've seen things on exhibit and the end product. We see where we stored them and how they get in the collection. We see where the stories come from. Kind of the last piece of the puzzle, we're going to take a quick walk out to the shop to wrap things up, so that if you see a rail car that is in an exhibit, most of the time the work that's been done on it has been done here at the museum, in conjunction with putting an exhibit together.
All right.
So, come on along. So,
this is the shop. All right.
Going to be a little different from what you guys have up north there, but still pretty interesting stuff back here. I'll get you down to this end so you can get an overview. So the shop for us serves a couple of purposes, number of purposes actually. It's home base for our grounds and our restoration crew. And from that side of things, lawn mowing, even though handled by volunteers, building maintenance, fabricating fixtures for exhibits, changing the batteries in the automatic flushers in the bathroom. That's all the purview of these guys. Anything from those little nuts and bolts, on up to the more interesting, the what we call the really fun stuff. All right. The other thing that the shop serves for is it is storage, especially cold weather storage for our operating locomotives. If this were wintertime, we'd have 2 parked in here so that we don't either A, have to keep them running, or B, have to drain them out. All right. So they come in here. We also do, light maintenance on the units while they're in here. The other big thing that happens back here is car restoration. And if a car is going to go into an exhibit, or comes up next on our schedule and the funding is available, it will come in here and our crew will work on restoring it. We have 2 staff members and then a core of probably 8 to 10 volunteers that work regularly on the restoration projects. And what you see in here right now is it's an old Pullman car. It was from the Chicago Northwestern.
Wow.
It's a car called the Joseph Lister. It was one of 2 of a particular floor plan that was ever built. The other one was the Ephraim McDowell, which has been scrapped. But if you step back here to this side, you'll see the features that should pique the curiosity. Look down the side of the car. There are 3 doors in the side of the vehicle here. All right?
Okay.
So, if I told you that the car was assigned to a train called the Rochester Special,
okay,
would help you figure out what it is or what it was used for?
Hospital.
There you go. Yes.
Mayo
Clinic.
Clinic.
Clinic. All right. And today again, we drive or fly to the Mayo Clinic. Back in the 20s, the 30s, 40s, even into the 50s in some cases, less or so after World War II, but you went by train to the Mayo Clinic if you weren't able to get there in another way. And the Lister and the Ephraim McDowell were designed to bring patients to Mayo. The doors on the side go directly into accommodations in the car so that you wouldn't have to take somebody that was on a stretcher up the steps and around all the nooks and curves that you normally have in a Pullman car. So this is in the process of being restored. When it came out of service as a passenger car, Chicago Northwestern used it as a storage car for maintenance of way, and they took out most of the inside. So part of the restoration process is that we're having to restore and rebuild most of the interior for the car. Now here comes that kind of that collaboration that you'll find. Illinois Railway Museum has the Pullman Plan Library, so we've contacted them and have gotten a set of plans, something beyond what we have here. But then now our crew is working to stabilize the car and then to restore it, and then eventually the interior will be fitted or made to hold whatever kind of exhibit that we decide is going to go into it. So we'll eventually paint it here. It's a non-operating vehicle, so we just need to make sure that it is solid as far as moving to wherever it's going to be stayed here or put here on the grounds. We're also looking at making sure the vehicle is sound. One of the things that they've been working on is the windowsills had quite a bit of leakage, and so they're getting rebuilt along the process here. So it doesn't, no drop pit for changing out wheels or things like that. But what our crew can do in this little facility is some pretty amazing work.
Very cool.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Candace, and of course our education director here at the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay. That was sure interesting. I love the archives and all the things, all the timetables and books and magazines and the old railroad guides that he showed us tonight. That's pretty cool. So again, this has been part 2 of our 3-part look at the National Railroad Museum here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Our 3rd and final part will be 2 weeks from tonight. So mark your calendars for Sunday, March 7th, 2021. 2 weeks from tonight. Mark your calendars again for the 3rd part, Sunday, March 7th, 2021. We'll be back right here. In our 3rd part, we're going to go around on the train you see behind me. We're going to do 2 loops around the Railroad Museum, and Candace and I will take you on a ride. So all aboard, come actually ride with us. Now you've seen a little bit about the museum over this past month, and we'll see you back on March 7th for our train ride.